Throughout history, mankind has created incredible machines and tools of wonder designed to fly and reach the stars. We landed on the moon and took those first all-important steps in 1969. We made ships and submarines that enabled us to sail the vastness of the oceans. In the year 3500 BC, a clever carpenter had the idea of using his potter slab on a chariot for a wheel. And just like that, in a blink of an eye, transport was born. In 2780 BC, the first pyramid was built on the baking sands of Egypt, a feat that now could only be repeated with heavy machinery. But humanity's creations haven't always been that of wonder and glory. Our devices and tools haven't always aided us in the progression of evolution. There was a darker side to our ability to create machines and tools. For without sorrow, you cannot have joy. Without death, no life. And without darkness, there is no light. We made tools and devices we were not proud of, but nevertheless, they were used, perfected and honed for hundreds of years, not to create, but to torture. Hello, my name is Dark Knight, and this is the Torture Museum. This video, as you've guessed it, is about devices and methods of torture and how they were built and used. Every episode will be about a different device and method, and there are a lot of torture instruments to look into. This video is for educational purposes only and is in no way promoting or glorifying these contraptions. So, let's begin. The Devil's Fork, or the Heretic's Fork, was designed and created during the Spanish Inquisition from the year 1231 AD right up to the 19th century. The Spanish Inquisition was referred to as the Holy Inquisition. It was made up of groups within the Catholic Church whose aim was to combat witchcraft and heresy. Torture and violence was brutally used by the Inquisition for eliciting confessions from the heretics. In other words, they were tortured until they confessed. If you're wondering what's a heretic, it's the name given to someone by the church on suspicion of expressing their opinions about religion and its doctrine in an unorthodox way, which is contrary to belief. To put it simply, they were caught bad-mouthing the church. And in those days, if you didn't... The design. The Devil's Fork was a nasty little device. It was a two-way fork that was attached to a collar that would be strapped around the convict's neck. On the Heretic's Fork, the following phrase was engraved, quote, "I renounce evil," unquote. The design of the Devil's Fork was simple and not pretentious. What you see is what you get. The prisoner's hands would be tied and bound so they couldn't tamper with the device. The bound prisoner would be made to suffer continuous pain, unable to move their head and lower jaw. 4 sharp spikes pierced the neck, 2 under the chin and 2 near the sternum. The sternum is the area where the chest and neck connects on top of the bone. He or she would be paraded around the main square or the town wearing the fork as a deterrent to others not to commit heresy. The strap was made of leather with a hoop, and the fork would be placed into the hoop and fitted and locked into the flesh, digging into the tissue and bone, forcing the heretic to look up to the heavens and pray. It seems the Catholic Church had a sense of irony. Their lips would tremble and their eyes would water when the 4 sharpened points punctured the chin and the sternum. They couldn't even speak, as this would mean moving the lower jaw, and that would result in a sharp blast of pain. Even the most hardened and persistent heretic would eventually confess if they were made to wear the contraption for long periods. The Devil's Fork torture was commonly known to be the first device on a long list used before a long and drawn-out torture session, unless a confession was acquired, either truthfully or out of sheer desperation to stop the torture. But if a confession was not acquired, then a long and painfully drawn-out torture session would commence in the depths of the torture chamber. Either If you confessed early or later, it had no bearing on your life, because if you were found guilty of being a heretic, you would burn at the stake regardless. It wasn't a matter of if you would die, it was a matter of how you would die. Did you want to confess to something you didn't do and die as a heretic, being hated by the church and your community? Or did you want to announce your innocence and keep quiet and go up against all manner of cold, sharp, hard metal steel? Yes, you would die with your honor and dignity intact, but your body would be ravaged and broken, amputated and stretched. Really, it all came down to your resolve. It goes without saying, but hundreds of thousands of people were killed, and most of them were probably innocent. You see, when the Holy Inquisition came through your town, people were being watched and listened to, and fear quickly spread like wildfire. Father turned on son, brother turned on brother, and no one wanted to be punished. And people would inform on others in the hopes of moving the eye of suspicion away from them. In the interest of self-preservation, the victim would throw the head as far back as they could to stop the sharp points from impaling them. But it wasn't always that easy. For starters, the strap was thick and made of leather and had steel attached to it, so the prisoner couldn't lift their head back as normal, because the strap would stop it. Also, when the hands are bound behind your back, the shoulders are also in the way. Try it for yourself. Close your eyes and imagine a thick strap around your neck. Then hold your arms behind your back. It would be really hard to keep your chin from being impaled on the spikes. If the prisoner wanted to commit suicide, and many of them tried, they would throw their head forward hard onto the spikes, but death wouldn't be instantaneous. So they would suffer for hours, even days. This device wasn't used to kill, it wasn't fatal. This was a device to make you suffer. After being paraded around the town, the prisoner is left in a cold, dark cell, still bound and still wearing the devil's fork. By this point now, even a simple act of swallowing one's own saliva is torturous. The strap also compresses the throat, inducing brief spasms of suffocation. After a few hours, the muscles in the neck and shoulder blades stiffen, and the rear of the head aches from constantly looking up. The burning spasms originating from tired muscles travel alongside minor tremors throughout his or her body. Dark circles appear around the eyes because sleep cannot be had. In this moment of despair, they attempt to lower their chin. Being semi-conscious now, even if it's a tenth of an inch downwards, instead of relief as his companion, the fork gouges their flesh. And here, in this moment, in this position, in this place, they are left for hours or days, depending on the torturer. Historians have studied the contraption and believe that it was the sleep deprivation that would cause anyone to confess to any sort of crime, as the worst part of the torture was to ensure that the victim could not lay down. Luckily today, the Inquisition no longer exists. People are free to be able to follow their beliefs and make their own choices without having the fear of being controlled by religious fanatics. Okay guys, it's a short video for today. I hope you liked it. That was Torture Museum Series 1 Episode 1, The Devil's Fork. This is just a little summary, so every video is going to be about a different instrument, a different device. So we're going to look into the devices, we're going to see what they were made of, how they were used, and there's a lot of devices out there. I'll also be continuing to do my usual ghost and supernatural paranormal videos. Also, I'm in the mid-season of Dark Mysteries. It's another series. I'm actually on Series 1, Episode 10, and I'm going to be continuing with that. I'm not a massive channel, but it's 2021 now, so I'm going to throw all my eggs into this basket, and I'm going to upload at least 3 times a week, maybe more if I can. But for anyone that uploads and makes YouTube videos, there's a lot of work that goes into videos. I just want to say thank you guys, and you'll be hearing from me very soon. Peace.